Video games are an ever-growing medium. Since the early 80s huge Nintendo-created bang in America, games have become a mainstream part of American culture. From the early Pokemon games that you could take anytime, anywhere, to the titanic franchises like Mario and Sonic, the new boom was looking great. Year after year, it seemed games just kept getting better and better and better, and the graphics became less and less and less blocky. And after a while, some people got to thinking, this stuff is fun, sure, but what about these games? These pixelated games that had to find some way to make you look at a sprite made of 64 blocks and go, yup, that's a hedgehog. A lot of people became nostalgic for a time when you had to create charm and not realism. And a couple of these guys went, hey, I want to make a game like that. Not like this. And in the 2000s, they finally got their chance. No longer did you need to be a big name like Activision or Bandai to rope a publisher into releasing your game. Now you can just release it yourself on the internet using a platform like Steam. And so an industry comparable to that of the indie film scene blew up. Suddenly tons of games were being released this way. And not all of them were great, but there were a few diamonds in the rough that gave indie games their notoriety. Consider Terraria, a 2D sandbox adventure game made by the company Relogic. This game first came out in 2011 and was quickly compared to Minecraft as it featured similar concepts but in a new and charming style. Relogic was a brand new company with its main project clearly being Terraria, and it was headed by a man named Andrew Spinks who set the price to a reasonable $9.99 when the game first came out. As it won IndieDB's Game of the Year, a title held by Minecraft the year before, it continued to receive regular and consistent free updates throughout its lifespan, going from having 250 in-game items in its 1.0 release to nearly 4,000 by its 1.3 release, all while remaining at the low price of $9.99. The fact that games like Terraria, Fez, or Celeste cost below $20 while big AAA games from huge companies usually sell for $60 is part of the allure of indie titles. Often they can offer just as good of an experience to the player as a mainstream game can, at a cheaper and easier price for gamers with less money to spend. Speaking of Fez and Celeste, let's look at both of these games, starting with Fez. Fez is a puzzle platformer developed by Polytron and designed by Phil Fish, who became a controversial figure after his appearance in indie game The Movie. The game displays the incredibly unique mechanic of rotating between 2D landscapes like sides of a cube, and plays on the perception of a normal 2D platformer by messing with your perception of how a 3D structure appears from straight on. Released in April 2012, Fez won Eurogamer's Game of the Year that same year, and went on to sell over 1 million copies by the end of 2013. Its unpunishing yet frustrating level design easily made it a breakout hit, and it helped that the game had charming pixelated visuals that adds to what Fish referred to as the stop and smell the flowers feeling of the game. Fez's unique gameplay mechanics further mark indie games as games that are not afraid of risk. When one person starts an entire company just to dedicate themselves to creating a single game, they aren't concerned about money. They're concerned about making a truly enjoyable experience for those who play it. A AAA company could shut down a groundbreaking idea if there was uncertainty in its ability to succeed in the market, but without that sort of concern, the indie game market allows itself to regulate the good and bad of the industry by simply allowing consumers to suggest the game to others, whether it be through a rating system or a review. Thus, new mechanics or styles like those of Fez, Celeste, or Super Meat Boy bubble up to the surface to show the innovation constantly taking place in the industry. The last game that deserves a discussion is surely Celeste. This game, largely created by Matt Thorson, was released this January to universal acclaim, with reviewers praising its soundtrack composed by Lena Raine, its visual style, and its writing, as it speaks to the more difficult topic of mental health. The protagonist, Madeline, goes on a spiritual journey to climb Celeste Mountain. She deals with depression and anxiety, which manifests itself as she climbs the mountain to the game's main antagonist, Part of You, who ridicules Madeline for her foolishness in thinking she could climb the mountain and frequently gets in her way, much to the frustration of Madeline. As the game progresses, Madeline realizes that she needs to make amends with all of herself, as her inner demon is just as much a part of her as any other. She finds herself in a better mental place after triumphing over the mountain, and leaves with Part of You as a welcome part of her life. And this speaks to one final pedestal of the indie game industry. It gives people the chance to discuss more serious issues, such as depression, that many people have to live with on a daily basis, and bring them up in a manner that not only brings it into the public eye, but connects people through an interactive story that follows someone who could be just the same as you or me. It's these kinds of experiences that truly define a great indie game. A combination of visual art, endearing soundtrack, enjoyable gaming, and difficult story to create an experience that is wholly its own and easily accessible to a broad audience. These 4 factors create a subsection of gaming culture that will last for as long as people make, enjoy, and play video games.